Alright, StankMouthCharlie, I've seen your videos on how you need a gang and you need numbers. Well, actually, I watched both videos, 1 and 2, and 3. I'm going to point something out to you. Now, this is from my personal perspective. I'm not going to reveal too much of my own information. There's actually, I made a small list, 7 little points that I'm going to come across. There's actually 8 because I'm going to take my 8th point, which just popped at the top of my head, and I'm going to put it down for my first point. My first point is OPSEC, operational security. Now, granted, every YouTube prepper just fucked OPSEC up. They went out and told everybody, hey, we preppers. Hey, we got guns and food and everything else. That being said, if you don't know I have it, is my best defense. Because if you don't know that I have medicine, you don't know I have food, you don't know I have water, you don't know I have weapons, then you don't know I have something for you to come and get. It's the same concept as, not waving money around and shit. Because let's face it, when you start waving money around, you wearing, real nice kicks, the $200-$300 shoes, somebody gonna whoop your ass and take them. It's just the way it is. It's life. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, too. Now, what was going to be my first point, which is now my second point, is this. Quality versus quantity. You was talking about you got, 60-some people in your family. You can put guns in the hands of 60-some people in your family between the ages of 15 and 30. Cool. Now, here comes the big surprise. My big point on this is, what is the quality of your quantity? If I got 10 guys, hell, fuck it, let's say 5. If I got 5 guys, my 5 guys are all prior military, used to be U.S. Army infantry myself. We all have guns, we all have training, we all know how to handle ourselves. We can all hit targets at 300 to 500 meters away, because some of my guys would be Marines, and Marines train for 500-meter shots. Army trains for 300-meter shots. Either way, you're talking about guys that can engage at over the length of 3 football fields. So you kind of run into that issue of, how is your numbers going to matter when you're dealing with guys armed, trained, and from my personal experience, most of us veterans who are preppers tend to equip ourselves in a way very similar to the way we were equipped in the military. Now, that being said, quality counts more than quantity. In my family's pretty large. Just on my mom's side alone, there's over 70-some people. That's counting first and second cousins. And we got some third cousins on the way, too. So, the thing about it is, most of that younger crowd, they're going to piss themselves the moment fucking, Uncle Jed's head explodes like a fucking overripe grape because somebody shot him. Most of them don't have training. They're going to base their tactics off a fucking Medal of Honor. They're going to be running around trying to run and gun, and at best they can offer distraction. At worst, they get in your way. They have no concept of fire and maneuver, no concept of teamwork. Stuff like that has to be drilled, and drilled a lot. So you have that issue between quality and quantity. You can have 50 fucking bodies, but they're not going to be any damn good unless they have quality training. That being said, you were talking about you need 50 people for defense. Oh, hell no. I'm going to get into the logistics of 50 people. All right. They say that you need 2,000 calories daily. Let's cut that down to 1,500. Hell, 1,200. Whatever. If you cut that down to 1,200 calories a day, that's what everybody's getting. Depending on the size of some of your people, that 1,200 calories ain't going to cut it. With that loss of food, weakness, everything else sets in. You start watering down the soup and everything else, you're hit. So what's going to happen is your people who are going out doing most of your combat operations, your front liners, are going to be having more of the food. support personnel aren't. And you were talking about resupplying, how you're going to get more bullets and everything else. Well, ideally, you would resupply off the enemy. If I'm sitting on 1,000 rounds of ammunition, and I don't have to kill anybody to protect what I have, then that 1,000 rounds of ammunition is still 1,000 rounds of ammunition. And then there's this other thing called force multipliers. Force multiplier is any tool which magnifies your ability to do a job. A hammer is a force multiplier. You can beat a nail into a board with your hand. It'll tear it all to hell in the process, but it can be done. You can use a rock. That rock is a force multiplier. Same way you can bash somebody's head in with your fist or with a rock. A hammer will pound a nail into a board a hell of a lot better than your hand will. It also pounds somebody's head in a hell of a lot better than what your hand will. This is where the guns come out, because they're a tool. Now, that being said, they're all force multipliers. So if there's little old lonesome me guarding my secret stash that nobody knows about, that nobody's going to come looking for, and in the process of doing this, I happen to put up closed circuit TV cameras and a few other odds and ends that nobody's observing at the moment. I have a force multiplier. I have an advantage because I can see you coming before you see me. And it gets even better if I have things like a CB radio to communicate with people further down the road. So, your 50 people, 60 people, whatever, is going to come to an issue. Now, I'm going to give you a little scenario here, which is my fifth point. 5 people inside a secure structure trying to defend themselves, and 50 people outside trying to get in. Favor goes to the people on defense. In the military, we're taught, and bear in mind, these are trained professional soldiers, talking about military operations in urban terrain, mount, doing room clearing exercises, same shit SWAT teams do. When, on a good day, when it comes to room clearing, against just amateur people with guns in a room, you're looking at an 85% loss rate. That means that out of a 4-man team going into a room, 3 are dead, 1 is injured. So then what do you think is going to happen when a whole bunch of people who aren't trained tries coming in on a room on people who some are, some aren't? Those 5 people in that one little room can do a hell of a lot of damage, especially when you get caught in a fatal funnel or a choke point like a door, anything like that. Because people can be bunched together. Bullets, especially from things like 308s and 30-06s and 12 gauge, is going to tear through more than one person at a time. Hell, a fucking 12 gauge slug round is going to tear 3, 4, 5 people in half on one shot. Just line up like a whole bunch of little people to get killed. I mean, it's nasty. Then you also have to look at blowback. I know you mentioned in a hypothetical situation, how would somebody deal with your 50 people? Well, here's the thing about it. If you hit somebody else with your 50 people, I'm going to see this. I'm going to know about it somehow. It's going to get through the grapevine in some way. Now, when this happens, I'm going to make alliances to build up my own little forces. Now, alliances are considerably different than everybody being together in a big-ass mob because of this. An alliance is you have your shit, you have your equipment, your gear, your tactics, whatever the fuck you want. I have mine. You have your shit, I have mine. But we might do a little bit of trading. And that includes information. So if I hear, StankMouthCharlie and his 50 family members, 60 family members, hell, fucking 80 family members, I don't care, is over here and they're raiding people's houses, there's going to be blowback. I'm going to engage you, preferably from a distance, on terms which are set for me. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go to where you all met up at, to your little tent city. I'm going to go out in the woods. I'm going to set me up some booby traps, homemade landmines, stuff like that. I ain't going to mention how to do it on YouTube. And then I'm going to pop off on you guys. When people start coming towards me, all they're going to do is run right into my own little defensive trap line. It's going to tear the shit out of it. You're going to have people who are injured, dead, and dying. Now, the effect of that isn't to reduce your numbers. Not necessarily. The effect of that is to do moral and psychological damage. See, when those little 15-year-olds start losing legs, they're laying there crying and bleeding all over the place, they're seeing the stronger alpha males, the older cats, dead or injured. They're going to think twice about engaging, since I'll do it from a distance and in a way that you won't know that it was me who did it. In fact, I might even leave clues behind which point to somebody else, and kill two birds with one stone by getting you to go after somebody else. It's a problem for me, some other gang or group out there. In the meantime, while all that's happening, while all that confusion is set in, all that fear is set in, you're going to have that blowback. And if I do it one time, that's going to encourage other people to step up. Other people who are afraid, other people who are worried about your mob. This is where that constant state of warfare comes into. Like you said, you don't want that. I don't want that. But that's the way it's going to go down. Unless you actually have a plan. A real plan. A lasting plan. A common sense plan. So, point 6 is blowback. Point 7 is a prepper network. Now, you mentioned networking, which I agree with you. You need a network. The idea of a rally point, everybody meet at one spot, I don't necessarily think about. I think we're better as a network of allied individuals in different locations doing our own shit. Because here's the way it works. Right. Let's say StankMouthCharlie down in South Carolina, I think he said. He's got his little tent city with all his family. Y'all growing, food, whatever. And I'm up here in West Virginia. I get some information that might come down to help you. I might make a trip on down to your neck of the woods and show you how to rig up fan blades off of old cars with alternators to build your own wind turbines or whatever. Because I have that knowledge. Now, here's the thing about it. People say there's no I in team. Fuck a team. There's an I in community. I have something that I can exchange with something from you. Let's say you have ammo, but you need a way to keep your ass warm and fed or whatever. You need a way to, use some of those force multipliers like electric fences and security cameras. So I can come down, set that stuff up, show you how to set that stuff up, and help you out in exchange for ammo that I might need up here. Or maybe you got peaches and I got potatoes. Y'all need more starch, more carbs. I need some peach to make some moonshine. We'll work something out. This is where networking and alliances comes into play, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to deal with a whole big mob of people. Now, point 8, my last point on this, is leadership. Leadership is a very important thing. I do not want to be responsible for a whole bunch of people. I will be responsible for helping those people help themselves. Your family's starving. You need medicine. I am willing to teach you what plants can be used for herbs. I will be willing to teach people things that will be of value to helping them. I will do so with the idea that they will teach other people. I will give a person seeds so they can start their own garden. I got a goat, one male. Well, hell, I got 3 goats. One male, 2 females, 3 goats. They have more goats. It happens when you have a stud goat. Okay, I can take the little baby goats and give them to somebody, and they can do something with that. I can take, squirrels that I trap, don't kill, but trap, to keep for food and stuff. I can keep my chickens, stuff like that. I can do all of that and trade with other people. This is where economics and bargaining stuff comes in. And you know what? If you ain't got nothing to trade, I need help. I'll give you a place to pop up a tent in my fucking yard and a meal to help me produce the food I need to keep myself alive. Don't necessarily mean I'm going to give you a gun, but hey, what it comes down to is this: leadership. Most preppers have a plan, and I do agree with you. People are going to come looking towards you, so that's when you are going to come looking to the people who have prepared and who are able to survive to come and save their ass. That's why, a lot of preppers, especially us YouTube preppers, need to be the ones that step up and be leaders. We need to, instead of trying to hide and keep everything secret, because we don't fuck that part up being on YouTube, we need to go ahead and teach people to help themselves. We need to help people to help themselves. In a time of crisis, we need to help other people. Help them get on their feet, and then help them help themselves and let them do it. As far as, people stealing and gangs and the threat and all this other stuff, we already got that now. The problem we have, the large problem that we have, is that there's not much leadership in the way of communities or anything else. Most people look to the government because the government gives them welfare and food stamps. The government helps them. Okay, what happens when the government fails? Economic collapse or what have you. And as far as gangs go, man, we are already stuck with a gang problem. I'm not talking about the Bloods and the Crips. I'm talking about the fucking police. Most likely here in the U.S., what will happen if anything nationwide catastrophic happens, and this is evidence with Katrina and with Sandy, is that the government itself is going to become a threat. The idea of in Katrina, the police, the mayor of the city, who is an anti-gun person anyways, decided to push forward his anti-gun agenda. Well, they only took guns away from law-abiding citizens. They wouldn't fuck with the gang members. Because, well, and I do agree with you, numbers count. They didn't want to have a fight in the ghetto over trying to disarm the drug dealers and everything else. But the thing about numbers is it also comes down to your ability to use numbers, the ability to use that violence successfully. You were talking about people testing you. Okay, fuck it, test me. Here's what's going to happen. First time around, I'm going to, dear God, if I have to be violent, I'm going to set an example. I've already hit a motherfucker in the head with a hammer, and this was somebody I love like a brother. So if I beat him in the head with a fucking hammer, you can imagine what I'll do to somebody I don't like. You're right, reputation and testing comes down to it. And if shit hits the fan scenario, whoever's most violent is probably going to lead, dictate the rules of engagement. Which is why when you use violence, you need to use it effectively. Now, that being said, this is where leadership comes in. Sometimes being an asshole is a good thing. But sitting in your little castle behind your walls with your gun trying to protect your beans isn't going to save you. And having 50, 60, 80, hell, 100 fucking people trying to get into that castle to take the beans away from the guy with the gun isn't necessarily going to help. Because chances are you're coming into his neck of the woods, his yard, his neighborhood. He knows the area. He knows the terrain. He knows all these little choke points. Chances are if he's had time to defend, to build defenses, you're going to have people caught up in barbed wire, coming across booby traps, and a whole number of different things. And in so doing, this guy with the gun is going to cause tremendous losses. Roll up on 5 people in one house. 5 people with 50. You might lose, say, 10. Those who aren't dead outright from being shot are going to be injured. They're going to die slowly. And if you've never seen war, you have guys who are pissing and shitting themselves, screaming and crying, begging for their moms, begging for someone to tell them that, God forgives them, a whole number of different shit. And it's not a pretty sight. And, well, like I said, quality versus quantity. I'll take quality over quantity anytime.